Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Kennan, Senior Product Marketing Manager with Microsoft, and we're here to talk about the Mac. I'm joined by Shawn Thomas. Shawn, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Shawn Thomas. I'm a Principal Program Manager here in the Skype for Business team, and my team is building the new Skype for Business client on Mac.
Awesome. So it sounds like we got the right guy for the right topic.
Yes.
I know many of you are very excited about this, so let us get started, and we're going to walk you through some information we have to share with you about the Mac. So the topics we'd love to cover will be around the Mac today. So I'm going to run through that, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the new Mac experiences coming, and Shawn's going to do some of that work. And then we'll circle around and kind of close out with understanding how the future looks for us next year for the client, as well as the engagement and what our goals are for the client. So very ambitious, and definitely give us feedback on Yammer if you want to talk about it, and let us know what you think about this. So why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll start with Mac today. All right, so I know this may be old hack for some of you, because many of you have experienced the current Mac client, but it's super important that we still cover off on this. We have to understand that we still, if you need a solution today, if you're very much in need of running a Mac client today, the Link Mac client for 2011 is available. And if you're not going to be surprised by this, we're still updating that client. In fact, even October 1st, wasn't it, Shawn?
Yep, 14.2.1.
Yeah, and we released a brand new one then, and we continue to support and work on that client. So if you need a solution today, it's there. What we find in a lot of our customers is that automatic updates is not as common for Mac users as it is maybe for Windows users. So you may have Mac users who are using much older clients. And if you need to update them, take a look at that and see if you can do that. Secondly, we are focused on the Apple ecosystem. I have to say I've gotten a few emails, seen a few Yammer posts, other comments about perhaps some doubt about our commitment to the Apple ecosystem. And I have to say nothing's farther from the truth. We released recently the iPhone and iOS apps for Skype for Business, and we will continue to release updates every 2 weeks. That's yep. Right? Yep. And we will be able to actually continue to release those. So those are also an option for those who are in the Apple ecosystem and would like a Skype client. So that's sort of where we're at with Mac today. Let's talk a little bit about what's coming tomorrow, because I think that's really why they're here, Shawn.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Yeah, totally.
Everyone's excited.
And so we're going to put Shawn right on the spot, and we're going to show you thousands of slides with text on them. No, actually, we're not going to do that, right?
Thank you.
We're going to actually go ahead and let you see prototype screens. So for that piece, we're going to let the expert talk to you through that a little bit.
Great. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
So we're going to show you a few concept visuals. So you see the big red text over them, so prototype, not final. So what our designers have been doing is actually taking the latest Skype design language. You see some of this in the consumer client, and so we're continuing to see consumer and business converge in terms of a familiar Skype experience for users. So if they're familiar with the consumer, they walk into work and they should know, generally how to use the business client without a whole bunch of training.
And Shawn, I got a question for you. I know you just talked about it, but so should our audience consider this a locked screens? This is the UI. Yeah. You better get used to it, including the floating red text on top of it or not.
Yeah, it's all coming with the red text. No, absolutely not. So what we're doing, the process we go through is our designers come up with some concepts, we iterate out internally, then we actually start testing it with some users. So we've done some early testing, and there's some things that we learned that, we've got to make some changes. So we're actually still going through that during the very early phases of engineering, so that there's not a whole bunch of re-engineering that's required. So that's the kind of the phase that we're in right now.
So really what Shawn is saying, these are directional,
Yep.
And you should not get extremely attached to them, but they do show a very good view of what the client will look like when we reach availability.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. So I think we're looking at the single window view right now. Okay, great. And so this is actually probably the first big change that you would experience from today's Link Mac 2011 client, where everything is kind of your contact list and each conversation is a separate window. Right. So this is moving to what the consumer experience has as well, where you've got this simple single window view where you're just switching between your conversations, and the area on the right will update. So it should be familiar. It's quick. It resizes nicely as you change the size of the window on your screen. So for kind of, I would say, sort of average users, most people will spend a lot of time kind of in this mode. But if we go to the next window, Of course, there's lots of power users and people who have just got a lot of conversations on the go at the same time. And so you'll be able to pop out individual conversations like you do today. So if you want to have 6 conversations going on at the same time, you can do that.
That's exciting.
So we go on to the next one. All right, so this is actually one of the sort of more forward-looking sort of directional design language updates for Skype for Business. And this is actually similar. If folks have seen images or have had a chance to play with the Surface Hub, it's actually got some of the similar elements to Surface Hub, where you've got the icons down the right side to actually look at the roster, look at the messaging that's going on in the meeting, any content, that sort of thing. So you're starting to see an alignment of the design language across different Skype for Business clients.
Yeah, that is, I find that really exciting to have that experience that feels both Mac ready, but also there's a Windows element to it as well, or at least the look and feel of that Windows client.
Yeah, you're gonna, and actually I'm glad you brought that up. So actually Mac is actually gonna be the most forward, modern, actual client in the Skype for Business ecosystem when it's released. And so we're actually leapfrogging Windows Win32, and Windows will actually converge and catch up to the Mac. So this is a real kind of different time in the Skype for Business.
First-class client.
First-class citizen in the Skype for Business ecosystem. So
that's exciting.
So what folks are seeing here is, of course, you're seeing a gallery view, folks having a video call, and the user has clicked on that sort of messaging icon on the right, and it's that whole pane slides out. And as you switch between the different things like the roster, that pane slides out. And if you want to go back to looking, at the folks in the meeting, you just click on that same icon, and that pane will collapse.
Yeah, exciting.
And of course, Skype has been known, of course, from the consumer side, very immersive, video calls. You want to be paying attention to the body language and the reactions on people's faces. And so really starting to bring a lot of that into the business world, in the business client, where historically we've had a lot of feedback about too much white space, around elements. I'm not seeing the video as large as I would like. Or if we go to the next slide, what we definitely hear a lot of is, people not seeing the content as large as they would like. So in some cases in, what has been called gallery view in the past, you've got, multiple speakers with lots of white space around them. And then the actual presentation is kind of actually hard to see.
So I think you've got a word for that, right? And isn't that full bleed?
Full bleed. So it's going right to the edges. And, you can see the call controls are over top, but, as soon as you stop moving the mouse, all those actually bleed away. They disappear, the meeting title. So you're looking, exclusively at that content. And so even if someone's, sharing Excel, spreadsheet, which is typically hard to see in a window that's too small, you're going to have the best view possible.
So I'm really excited by that. I don't know. I want to point out to the audience again, it's very subtle, but if you look at this screen, this is something as a diehard Windows user I've never seen before, where the actual buttons controlling the meeting are floating on top of the content. This is amazing, and I think this experience will actually, when you're using it, you'll have your Windows friends down the hallway kind of looking at you enviously, because when they see that, hey, wow, that client looks really modern and it looks full bleed, and I can really get a view of that content. It's exciting.
Yeah, we're pumped.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so I think that's about it on the prototype screens we wanted to show you, right? I think that was the last one. So we can move on. We'd like to talk a little bit about now the goals for the client. I think we've already discussed some of them, but we wanted to tease you a little bit with the exciting stuff first. So that's why we got Shawn here to do that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the goals, the futures, and then how you as a customer can engage. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the next slide. So this is super important, I think, and we could talk a bit about this, but number one, we're building for the future. So this client, and I've said this to many of you probably on this, have seen me write this on the forums, or you've spoken to me in person. We've built from the ground up, and this is critical. We looked at the existing client, and although it was serving a lot of our customers, we realized we had to take a hard choice and decide to go for the future, right, Shawn?
Yeah, absolutely. There was really no option or not significant value, certainly not for our customers, to take the existing 2011 client and try to, bandage it and bring it into the future. So we started from scratch, all our latest technology, taking advantage of the latest OS X technology. So it really is going to be the most modern Skype for Business client, both from the UX perspective, but also from the technology perspective underneath.
That's amazing. Things like 64-bit.
64-bit native. Yeah, that's all done with Swift 2.1. And we're looking at other Apple ecosystem things. So in future, we might see some better together things between, for instance, iOS and OS X. So
that would be exciting as well. I know there's some really cool features there. You've kind of whispered to me about some of them. So The other piece that we're really focused on with goals is quality is job one, to steal that, I think, from a car commercial. But seriously, we really are focused on it. We've gotten a lot of feedback about how our existing client works and doesn't work at times, and we really wanted to focus on that. So quality will be the first step for this client, and it is really, I think, your guiding light, your North Star, isn't it?
Yeah,
Shawn?
yeah. It's been talked about in the past, but we really are taking the process of fewer features, all high quality. So we will be, folks, when we GA, they might not have every feature that they would like to have, but the features that do ship will be high quality. They will be reliable, and you won't have the kind of experiences that people struggle with a 2011 client today.
Right. And that's super important. I think all of you agree that. And in fact, I can tell you, I've been on customer visits, customer calls, and essentially it always, a version of it comes down to, Mr. Microsoft, Mr. Paul, Mr. Shawn, if you guys are going to build it, we would trade features for stability. And so we're going to focus on having a really high quality client for you. So, all right. And then in terms of, shifting a little bit the conversation, what's the best way to gauge? We're going to talk a lot about this over the next couple of slides, but I just want to set the stage that the best way for you to get early engagement is through our technical preview program. And that we'll talk about that, how that works, and what we can tell you about it right now. But that's the place to go, and we'll cover that off. And finally, we want to commit to a regular release cadence. And what does that mean to you, Shawn, when we talk about regular release cadence?
Well, certainly not 4 years between releases. No, we're really looking at, definitely like quarterly that kind of cadence, but still with the ability for IT pros to have control when that actually gets pushed out to their end users, whether it's through MDM like Casper and that kind of stuff. So, so it's definitely something where we are resourced to continue iterating on this, continue adding features, continue doing client updates, and so it won't be just this big launch and then disappear again. It's going to be an ongoing thing.
It sounds like another sign of the client and our commitment to it being a first-class citizen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the futures, and so we're just gonna cover this a little bit. So coming next year will be Q1. In Q1, we'll be looking at nominations open for preview programs, and so will be the way you'll be able to get into these programs. I'm not sure we have a lot to share yet on the precise process, but
No, that'll be coming out in that first quarter. I know our customer engagement team is working on those plans right now. But basically, early in the quarter, we're going to open those doors and start getting the list of people interested, so that when we are ready to actually drop that preview build, then everyone will be able to start kicking the tires. Yeah,
and that is going to be an exciting time for you as a Mac aficionados and Skype for Business aficionados, that you'll be able to actually access that client. And I don't want to just totally commit my producer who's sitting out of camera view here, but I believe we'll probably try to do another one of these sessions together in January when we have all these details ready. Yeah. So expect to see something like that, or if not that, perhaps a blog. We'll have to make that call. Okay, the next item is preview, and that will be when the actual preview drops. We currently believe it's going to be Q2 calendar year 16, and that will then be exactly what we're talking about, being able to actually access that client. Now, I want to be really super clear and super directional here. These dates we feel very good about, but we're really sharing early with you. So give us a little bit of leeway in case there's any shifting, but I think we should look good for those, huh?
Yep.
Okay, that's awesome. Then come in the summer, of course, we will have general availability for the client. You've already spent a few months with it, so hopefully it won't be a big surprise, and you'll be able to enjoy it and be able to begin deploying it out. And then if there's a couple things coming in the future, then we just want to remind everybody that after that, we'll do the cadence that Shawn has just talked about with updates. Just to kind of tease you a little bit, an example of one of the updates that I'm personally really excited about is something called VBSS. VBSS is video-based screen sharing. It's already available in the Windows client itself. It came out in September. And I don't know if Shawn, if you want to talk about it all, or I can talk about it.
Sure. I mean, basically, I think folks who experience the screen sharing today and who know the technical sort of underpinnings, it's RDP, and folks know that there's a certain latency to it. It feels a little slow. It's not great for, certainly not great for sharing video, right? If you got a video clip that you wanted to share.
Yeah.
And so VBSS is really, it's screen sharing that's sent as a video stream. And so the latency is as good as, you know, the video of you and I on this broadcast right now. And it's close to instant in terms of it starting up. Folks know when they share, you know, it takes a few seconds for all the other clients to start getting it. So this really kind of standardizes your content sharing, desktop sharing as a video stream, just like the Skype consumer client does as well.
Right, and that's exciting because I know we know that sharing is after the actual initial being able to IM, be able to have a voice and video chat. Sharing is super critical to customers using the product. And then finally, just a reminder, as we head into the futures, we will have that regular cadence available, and we will be sharing that as we know what's coming in those drops. So pretty exciting time for you in calendar year 16. So hopefully you guys are all ready for your holidays or whatever you're working on now. And then when you come back in January, we'll begin to have some communications for you around that. Okay, and finally, probably the most important thing is to cover off how people can engage, how customers can engage with us on this. And so we wanted to be really detailed, and Shawn can give us some color too on this as well. So, and I apologize, this one basically breaks most of the rules of creating a PowerPoint slide with the amount of text on it, but we really wanted to be able to cover off on material with you, which is great. So many people often ask, I think Shawn and myself around, what is this, you know, what is TAP? What is Super TAP? What are insider programs? What is the product validation process like at Microsoft? And so this really shows you the timeline in this first section around how this works. So we generically call the programs for early validation insider programs. Yeah. And essentially those things, that's where you see things like Super TAP, TAP, and in fact, phases like just focus groups and things like that. Anything we can do to actually talk to customers and understand what we think we should be doing with that. And so that is those programs. And the next one is the preview program. That's what we've been telling you about. That's the one we want you to be excited about. That's when we go wider and have customers actually use it. And then finally, it leads to GA. So again, descriptions below. I'm not going to read all that text or anything like that. It's a bit of a eye chart. But honestly, the thing we want you to focus on is that there is a technical preview program coming in Q2, just like the last slide mentioned. And that's where we'd love to see you actually get focused on and think about in terms of what you're going to do for yourself and your user base in using that Mac client. We do have an insider program as well. I don't know, Shawn, if you want to describe that a little bit, or
yeah, I mean it's also it's customers who are you know taking the client. We're giving them slightly earlier drops. They will be more incomplete. They will probably be buggier, but we're looking for that early feedback. And there's actually agreements where there's certain obligations actually that the customer has in terms of spending time with the app, in terms of giving feedback, in terms of providing access to end users in their companies. So it's very hands-on, but it's an increased level of commitment. And then as we get to preview, it really becomes more of a, you know, we're going to send this out wide, anyone who wants it. No obligations. You know, of course we love to get the feedback, but you know, we just want to send it out there and have folks, you know, give it a try and send feedback if they're interested in giving us the feedback.
That's great. Yeah, so I think that's super important to take away from Shawn. I know some of you have asked about how do I get on the super early, you know, build or whatever that. It's great if you want to join the insider program, but it is a selected set of customers. You will be highly vetted. And it is based on what we believe your commitment will be. And so we think we really want to guide you that really the preview program, that first item I've talked about, is where a majority of you want to line up for and get ready to take the client. For those select few who think they have the bandwidth, the time commitment, the ability to rapidly deploy, rapidly redeploy versions of the client, if you think you have that capability and are willing to commit to getting users on it, essentially you become an extended team member to deploy and then give us really good guidance and feedback. That's an option as well. But I just want to set your expectations appropriately that they will be very selective because it is about validation, direct validation of the client and how it works in that phase. And I think I'll close out on this slide by saying on the right side, we have this reminder, you know, it is really exciting next quarter, literally next quarter, right? So all of you who are really anxious about when we're going to drop this, next quarter, we're going to actually go ahead and begin the nomination process, which is super exciting. And I think a lot of you have been on a long road with us, right? And I want to thank you for that. I personally can now see the light at the end of the tunnel. I hope with this content today, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you can go back to having your confidence level high that we're going to deliver you a great product, that Shawn is going to ensure that we get a great product out the door, and you'll be able to use that and satisfy your Mac users. I don't know if you have any last words at all. No, actually, there is one thing I did want to say to you, which is, and I think the question, and I'm going to just say it for you right now, because I get to be, as the marketing guy, I get to be mean to the engineering guy. And I go, let me say, Shawn, is this real life? Is this really real? Is this just a bunch of marketing guys making slides and pretending that something's happening?
Yeah, a bunch of designers with crayons.
Yeah, designers with crayons and a really eager desire to draw screens.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
Well, actually, if we go forward one slide, this will actually kind of reinforce what I'm about to say, which is, no, it's real. It's real. The engineering team has already begun, and I'm not going to show you any other part of the client, but it's already running. I'm using it to join my meetings internally, and the little image of my avatar, that's a screen grab that I cropped out of the actual client that's running. So
that's awesome. And then we left mine, which is still the Windows screen grab. So he's basically reminding me that I need to get my act together on this as well. So, which is pretty darn exciting. So, okay, well, that's great. I think the only thing...
We got some questions.
We got some questions, so we'll go ahead and pick those up. And the first one is, how do we join the Skype for Business Mac Preview program, Shawn?
Yeah, so that will, I think, go out in Q1 next quarter when we actually send out the instructions. So there will be a communication for how folks actually get on that and nominate and request to join the program. So that's coming in just a couple months.
That's right. So give us a little bit of time because we're ironing out all the details. And like I said, you will find out either through a broadcast like this, or perhaps a blog, or different, or maybe all those modalities at the same time. Okay. Next question. Will we open this preview to EDU customers, Shawn?
Yes, absolutely. We're not going to be scoping the preview in any particular way. So we want as much feedback as possible, and we love the EDU customers for sure.
That seems like a little bit of a flashback to our tech preview for some of our cloud features, where we did have to have some structured which segments we're in. But I think for the Mac client, it sounds like we're going to really open the doors to no matter who you are, you'll be able to try the client out. And then we get asked, will the SfB client always and only be a standalone install for the rest of the Office 2016 Mac suite, or will we get it bundled together at some point? Question mark.
Yeah, question. Yeah, bang, bang, one bang. This version will still be a standalone client. We do have some conversations with the Office guys. We're talking about things that we might be able to do together, even if they're not installed together. Can there be some better behavior together? Like, hey, if I'm signed in to in Office, do I need to sign in again in Skype for Business? So we're looking at some of those things. No specific plans or commitments yet, but this release will still be separate. But we're looking at things we can do to make it easier in the future.
And I bet one of the questions I get a lot on the Windows side is finding the client out there on the web. How do we get to it if someone doesn't have it? So maybe one idea could be that we just, even if it's not physically a part of the install of regular Mac Office, maybe there's a way to link in and say, hey, here's where we're keeping this client so people can find it easily.
Yeah, and certainly that will be the case with O365 customers. So where you can go and download your clients and you find Skype for Business today, so the Mac client will be there as well.
Okay, awesome. All right. And I was wondering before when we would get to this, Shawn, when will the Mac client support persistent chat?
Yeah, so you know how we talked earlier about quality and really making sure that the features we do ship are high quality and reliable. So I don't have a specific date commitment for persistent chat, but in all transparency, it is very likely that it will not be in the first release.
Right.
So just being totally open with you guys there.
And I think that makes sense in a lot of ways. Persistent chat itself is primarily a Windows client feature. As we have talked about before, it's currently in maintenance mode, but that does not mean, by the way, whenever I say maintenance mode, I've been struggling to find a way as a marketing person to talk about this. Maintenance mode literally means it's in maintenance mode, and try not to do too much reading behind the scenes. We continue to look at that. We know how important it is to many of our customers, and so essentially as the team decides how we move forward, if we move forward with persistent chat, then of course the Mac client will take a look at that and work on that. Okay, so the next one. We still see people on random link for Mac 2011 releases like version number and version number. How will the update process work for Skype for Business Mac? Will it make it easier for us IT folks to make sure our users are on the latest version? Which is a great question because we had just talked about that at the beginning of this presentation, that we also see a lot of people hanging on older releases. Is there any guidance or any thoughts there?
Well, I would love to actually. That's a great opportunity for folks to give feedback and suggestions, and whether that's in the Yammer conversation. But are folks looking to actually have something like Microsoft Update, where all the clients are just updated automatically from Microsoft, or do folks want that kind of level of control? I know some IT pros want to get a new version for themselves. They run it through its paces, do some testing maybe with a smaller ring of people before they then push it out using Casper or any other MDM to their Mac desktops.
Right.
So right now for our internal use, our internal dog fooding, we actually have automatic updates where every time you run, it'll tell you if there's a new version. And so it's definitely in our interest. Like, we want end users and customers to be using the latest stuff because that means they're getting all the latest value. But we're also going to make sure that if IT pros do want to do that sort of staged release where they validate things themselves first, then they'll be able to do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So when we say validation in preview, what we mean is validation in preview. You should be giving us feedback on what you guys think is the most important things. What's helpful to Shawn is if you give him a long list. But what's really helpful to Shawn is you really give targeted feedback on what's super important. And think about it in terms, honestly, you have to think about this in software as trade-offs. This is not a Marie Antoinette moment. You can't have your cake and eat it too all the time. You really have to prioritize and tell us what you think is most important. If automatic updates is something you want Shawn to move to the top, and he can look at that, or is it because it has to be persistent chat, or does it have to be video-based screen sharing? You tell us what your feedback is, and we'll aggregate all that feedback and then understand it. Okay, so with that, I think we are done for today. I want to thank Shawn Thomas, aka King Kitten. He's got a crazy shirt on, so you know that this is his credibility moment. I'm wearing a sweater. He's got his engineering t-shirt on. And we hope that you've enjoyed this. We hope this is informative. And honestly, these broadcasts occur because you like them. And if we get no feedback, or we get a lot of negative feedback about the broadcast, then they probably won't continue because our managers won't enjoy seeing all that negative feedback. So give us good pointed feedback about what you want and let us know that the actual series itself is working for you. Again, thank you very much. And Shawn, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Alrighty.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Bye now.
Bye.